In a world where trust is shattered and love is tested, one channel dares to uncover the untold stories of heartbreak and betrayal. Welcome to Heartbreak Chronicles, where real-life tales of infidelity are unraveled, secrets exposed, and lives forever changed. Join us as we navigate the complex world of relationships, offering support, understanding, and a place for those who have faced the pain of betrayal. Subscribe to Heartbreak Chronicles now, because every story deserves to be told, and every heartbreak deserves to be heard. Story 1. She cheated 10 years ago and I want revenge. TLDR, my wife cheated before we got married. I found out after 10 years later I want revenge or divorce but feel stuck. Advice needed please. I met my wife 12 years ago. We started a serious long-distance relationship for a year while I finished school. She made it very clear she wanted something serious and didn't want me sleeping around, lying divided by etc. I respected her wishes. Once I got my degree, I moved in with her. Once I moved in, I noticed little red flags about her. I found old chats from her social media accounts of her randomly reaching out to random men while we were long distance, and when confronted, she made me feel crazy and said it was just entertainment. It was suspicious because it was how we met and we ended up sleeping together right away, etc. So to see her randomly messaging other men during our LDR was a red flag. Still ignored it. Fast forward a year after moving in, I propose and we get married right away. 13 months after the I-dos, I log into her iPad and I open the cloud storage because I was looking for a specific photo we took that I wanted to send my cousin, and I found pictures, videos, etc. of her f-ing other men the entire time we were long distance. I was heartbroken, dropped to my knees and cried. She lied. The entire relationship, she lied. I asked before the I-dos if there was anything she wanted to confess before we got married. I didn't want to bring anything into our marriage. She swore up and down there was nothing. I stupidly believed her. When I confronted her about what I found, she lied. Took almost a week for her to finally tell the truth. She was using dating apps to meet random men and FK them while I'm on the other side of the country, in school, staying faithful to her daily. Multiple different men, multiple different times. And then she decided to screenshot messages, record her escapades to keep them as trophies. She forgot to clear them off, I guess. I wish I never found out. It ruined everything. There were so many times I wanted to cheat and I didn't. It was hard, but she was worth it. Apparently, I wasn't. I regret not cheating back then. I regret not getting revenge once I found out either. I'm not ugly, I'm in very good shape, have a good career, and have no doubt I could find someone again. She killed my self-esteem. Literally shattered every good thing I felt about myself. She was very remorseful when crap hit the fan. She was begging me not to leave, promising me it would never happen again, telling me she felt guilty for years, hysterically crying, the works. Anyways, I made her tell our families and both of our families took her side. She painted it to look like we weren't really serious until I moved in, and once I moved in she stopped. Who TF just casually dates until moving in. Of course it was serious. Serious enough for her to accuse me of cheating and question me while she was lying to me daily and living a double life. I was hurt on so many levels. Still hurts typing this out. I was angry, hurt, but couldn't afford to leave at the time I found out. I had to quit my job a few months earlier that year because her job just moved us to another state. So I was unemployed, depressed, and none of our family cared about how much I was hurt. Everyone felt like it was before marriage, so I wasn't justified to leave her. I felt trapped, so I stayed. Here we are 10 years later, we have a house, 3 kids, and I still haven't gotten over it. I feel like she tricked me into marrying her. She knew damn well I wouldn't have married her if I knew what she had done. I never would have even moved in with her. She took away my right to choose if this was something I was willing to deal with, commit to for the rest of my life. She destroyed our marriage in the very first year and I stuck by her, trying to let it go, trying to ignore it, trying to be a good husband. She hasn't cheated again that I know of, but there's been some other stuff that has gone on in our marriage that has turned me even further away from her. I love my kids and I love them having 2 parents. But I'm not happy and I'm ready to leave. I love my wife, always will, but I'll never forget what she did to me. How she lied even after being caught and tried to minimize our relationship to our family to save her ass. Admittedly, I want revenge. I'd stay married if I can just take my power back and show her how it feels. We're supposed to finally start counseling for this, but I don't see it working. She thinks everything is fine and she's happy. It's been 10 years, she says. I'm still not over it, but I also don't want to be a single dad or disrupt my kids' lives. They're innocent in all of this. I make good money, but she makes really good money. My kids would have to live with me full-time because her job doesn't allow her to be a full-time single parent. It's too demanding and she'd have to quit. I feel like my window to justify divorce or get revenge is gone because it's been 10 years already. I should have left when I found out, but I listened to everyone around me telling me to stay. I also couldn't afford to leave at that exact moment. Now we have debt together, house together, kids together, and I what to do. This is why I want revenge. Maybe then I'll be able to finally let go of what she did and move forward in our marriage. F'd up thing is, if I cheat and she finds out, she'll just leave, as if she didn't do the exact same thing. And her excuse will be that she didn't do it in the marriage. She won't fight like I did. She would leave me with my kids without hesitation because she leads with her earning potential. She makes very good money on her own and she doesn't need me for anything. I need advice. Story 2. My ex-girlfriend might have lied to me about our baby not being mine. Rose and I were together for 4 years, from our last year at school until just after university. I loved her very much and genuinely thought I would marry her. However, we were very much not in a place to have a child. We had previously discussed the matter and agreed that we were both okay with termination if it came to it. 6 years ago, she became pregnant. She broke down when she told me, 4 months in, and admitted that she had cheated on me and that the baby wasn't mine. I immediately ended the relationship, and she moved home to have the baby. It crushed me, as this was totally out of the blue and utterly unlike her, and she refused to provide many details and the whole situation just seemed vague and off. Recently, Rose's father passed away and my mother attended the funeral. While there, she commiserated with Rose, who was there with her husband and daughter, who, according to my mother, is visibly biracial and has a striking resemblance to me. How do I even begin to bring this up with her? I feel like I have to but have no idea where to even start. I don't want to be a dad, but I also don't want to just abandon some kid that might be mine. I also feel like I've moved on enough to be ready for closure and to actually address the whole matter with Rose. The breakup happened in such a rush and she moved away before I felt able to address the topic in any kind of a rational, logical way. The options are that she cheated on me and became pregnant with someone else's child, she cheated on me and has lied to me about her pregnancy, or she just made up the whole scenario for some fucking reason. Help. Edit. Rose got in touch with me. She asked my mother for my phone number and texted me to ask whether I would be free to have a call with her this week. I passed on commiserations for her father and told her to call me anytime this week outside of work hours. Update. Lots of people were asking for an update on my last post, so here we go. The kid is 100% mine. I'm going to call her Daisy for this post. I've met her a few times, and she's a really cute, lovely little kid. I am enjoying getting to know her, although of course I am sad that I missed out on so much of her development and so many firsts. I'm also sad she hasn't had my influence, as every father would hope to influence their child. For example, she understands some Polish because of her stepfather's family, whereas I grew up in a house where elders spoke Creole. I wish she could have been able to explore her heritage from birth, but now she can choose whether she wants to do so, which is also exciting. She also strongly resembles me as a child, which is strange but nice. My mother says she is a spitting image of her aunt, so we have been showing Daisy some family photos, which she seems to enjoy. My ex, Rose, is doing a great job of raising her. I want to stress that. Rose behaved badly in our relationship, but she is a wonderful mother. I'm going to be getting to know Daisy a bit better over time, with a view to having her eventually spend summer or winter vacation with me, if she wishes to, when she is a little bit older. Rose and her husband are also going to bring her to meet my mom when they are in our hometown, so Daisy can get to know her biological grandmother if she wants. Rose is married to a very decent guy who clearly adores Daisy. To answer a question I got in quite a few DMs, the husband is white, Rose is white, and I am black, so it was fairly obvious that Daisy was not his biological child. However, he is very obviously her daddy. We are getting along well and he is supportive of me getting to know Daisy. Now, the hard part, Rose has apologized repeatedly for her actions. She says she did not cheat on me, and I have come to believe her. However, the lie still hurts. She has explained this is something that has weighed on her heavily, and she knew she would have to address it eventually. I have not forgiven her, but we are moving past it as best we can. We are both in therapy and considering doing some therapy as a unit to make sure we are healthy co-parents for Daisy. I have called her out and will continue to call her out. This has not been one conversation but a long series of talks to understand one another's positions. Her explanation was that she knew if I knew she was pregnant and wanted to keep the baby, I would have given up on the life I wanted to have in order to support her. Instead, she broke up with me and moved home, where her father supported her until she had Daisy. But for the sadness of this situation, I am in a good place in life now and relatively successful. Perhaps she is right. I would not have managed to do this if we'd had a baby at our young age, but I still wish she would have given me the choice to say yes or no. However, what is done is done. There is some stuff I do not want to mention, even on an anonymous forum like Reddit, which gives me further context and understanding for Rose's actions. Apologies for the anticlimax for leaving that out, but it wouldn't feel right. Rose and her husband are currently declining to accept child support from me, saying they earn enough to raise Daisy without. They have not made access to Daisy contingent in any way on money or anything else. I am going to check with a lawyer to determine whether this is something they will be able to pursue me for in future, and to explore the legalities of instead placing such money into a trust for Daisy's use as an adult or perhaps for college. I think that's everything. It's not as dramatic as I know people were hoping, so I'm sorry, but I think everyone in the situation is doing their best. TLDR, all is well that ends well. Story 3. My ex-girlfriend wants to try again. My ex-girlfriend and I first got together 6 years ago, and from day one, we got on like two peas in a pod. Then after 2.5 years together, she fell pregnant. We had spoken about kids before and we both wanted a family, but not after just 2 years together. We spoke about it a lot, asked a few of our friends that already have kids, and eventually decided to go for it. We also agreed that even if our relationship doesn't last, our child's well-being would always come first. Right before the lockdown in 2020, 3 weeks before the due date, we welcomed a perfect little girl and both of us were completely infatuated. It was a big adjustment, but our girl was an angel and we settled into parenthood rather quickly. Everything was going great at first, but 3 months later, it all changed. I was working late when I got a text from my mother to tell my mom's girlfriend dropped our daughter off with her while she ran some errands, but 4 hours later, she hadn't returned and now she wasn't answering her phone. I called too, but she didn't answer me either. I got out of work, collected my daughter and went home to find a note from my girlfriend. She said that she couldn't handle the stress of lockdown and the baby and she just needed some time to clear her head. She also said not to call and that we would talk soon, but days turned to weeks with no contact from her or anyone else other than her sister, who visited her niece often but never mentioned my girlfriend. Fast forward 3 years and my ex-girlfriend is slowly starting to reach out again. It was slow at first, liking photos of our girl on Instagram and the odd comment, but that was it until last week. She sent me a text saying that she had seen how well our daughter and I are doing and asking if we could meet up. I was reluctant, but we agreed before our daughter was born that her well-being is what mattered the most, so reluctantly, I agreed to meet for a coffee so she can see our girl, but I'm having second thoughts. How do I forgive her for walking out on me and, more importantly, on our daughter? Update 1. As agreed, my ex and I met up a few days ago in a local cafe and I got there early to try and work out what I was going to say to her after 3 years. While I hadn't mentioned it in my original post, I had no intention of bringing our daughter along, and when my ex arrived, she was a little disappointed but not all that surprised to see I was alone. The next few minutes mainly consisted of small talk before we eventually addressed the enormous elephant in the room, where she had been hiding for 3 years of our daughter's life. She admitted that she'd suffered a lot with postpartum depression and she couldn't bear to show it in front of our girl. She acknowledged that leaving the way she did was wrong, but she wanted to be able to focus solely on herself while she got therapy. I asked why it took her 3 years to resurface and she broke down, admitting that she was so scared of what I thought of her for disappearing. In a way, she was right to be scared, because while I could come to terms with being dumped, I was furious because she left our daughter. Throughout our conversation, I could tell she's grown a lot as a person over the last few years, which is something. We spoke for well over an hour, and when I finally got up to leave, she asked where we stood. I told her that I appreciate that she's been really trying to turn over a new leaf, but it's going to take time for me to fully move on. But as a show of good faith, I showed her a video of our girl. It's about 6-7 months old, but it's my favorite. Just before I left, I got her phone number so we can maintain a bit of proper contact rather than through social media. And I agreed to send her a couple of photos of our girl. I appreciate all the advice I got last time, and I'm wondering where my ex and I go from here. My hope is that we can coexist and maintain a healthy friendship for our daughter's sake, but after what happened before, it's hard to fully trust my ex. What do you guys think? Side note, 2 things I didn't mention to my ex. I have zero intentions of rekindling our relationship. I'm open to co-parenting if she can prove she's not going to pull another disappearing act, but that's it. I really loved her once, but I'm a different person now, and that ship has well and truly sailed. At one point, I considered putting our girl up for adoption. She was about 9 months at the time. I was mentally and emotionally drained. Work was stressing me out, and coming home to my daughter just didn't give me any joy as much as I love her. I was going through the process, but one night, I looked in at her in her cot. She looked back at me, and the look on her little face, a cute little smile and her blue eyes shining like I was her whole world. It told me that things would get better, so I canceled the adoption and never looked back. Update 2. It's been a few weeks, so I thought I'd give another update regarding progress with my ex. First off, thanks to everyone for the advice and support. It's been such a huge help. So, down to business. Per my ex's request, I accompanied her to a session with her therapist, and she reassured me that she and my ex have made good progress, but she still has some issues to work through. Specify her relationship with her parents. She told me they separated and her mother had a temper, but I didn't know how bad it really was. After the session, my ex left and I hung on for a minute to ask her therapist for her opinion regarding reintroducing my daughter to my ex. She recommended holding off for now and offered me a free session to talk about it, so I'm going to see her next week. On a more positive note, my daughter started preschool 2 weeks ago, is already making friends, and has been absolutely loving life. And I sent my ex a few photos of our girl to show some support, so things are looking up. Thanks again to everyone that has commented so far. The support I got has been incredible. Makes the struggle of raising a child alone a little better. Update 3. I didn't intend to do another update until my ex and I had made good progress, but she made a confession yesterday. And I don't know how to handle it. She called me yesterday morning asking if we could meet up since she had something important to tell me. I was off and kiddo was at preschool, so I had half an hour to meet her. Soon after I got there, she asked me about our girl and I told her she was doing well. Moments later, she broke down and told me that she wanted to tell me why she decided to reach out so that there weren't any secrets between us. She admitted that she had been seeing a guy, I don't know his name so we'll call him Luke, for about 18 months. I was initially pissed off at the thought of her dating while I was raising our girl alone, but she was in tears so I held back. She admitted that Luke had taken her to his nephew's christening and she had a total breakdown at the sight of the baby and the thought of our daughter. She apparently got really drunk and broke down in tears before admitting to Luke that she had a child that she had basically abandoned. Apparently, she tried to distance herself from Luke after that, but he stuck with her and his love and support inspired her to see a therapist and reach out to me. I told her I was glad she told me and happy that she has someone that is so devoted before I left to collect kiddo, but now that it has fully sunk in, I can't wrap my head around it. How could she have gone off and dated someone else while I was left with our child? I've started to have second thoughts about her second chance, but since I'm not going to my therapist for another week, I thought I'd share it here to hopefully get some advice, because while I would like my daughter to know her mother, I can't overlook the fact she was dating someone else while I was raising our daughter by myself. Update 4. A few people asked for an update after I saw my therapist, so here it is. I spoke with my therapist about my ex and how I felt regarding the revelation of her new partner, but the main thing we focused on was my daughter. He asked me to think about my ex and my daughter and what I was afraid of. I admitted that I was worried my ex would turn my daughter against me or get close and break her little heart. He talked about my daughter falling over and getting hurt. The point was to remind me that my daughter knows I'm there if she gets hurt. As for my ex turning my daughter against me, he noted that there's only been one constant factor in my baby girl's life from the day she was born. Me, her daddy. I'm her entire world, just like how she's mine. It reminded me of my brother's birthday back in the summer. I'm leaning more towards leaving my ex to live her life and letting my daughter decide whether she wants to reach out when she's older and has all the facts. Regarding child support, legal action, I'm working on it, but I need to get sole custody sorted first. Should have a family court hearing in the next week or two, so fingers crossed. Update 5. First off, I want to address some comments on the last post saying how I was posting but not taking action, and others mentioning child support. I have been busy dealing with my ex, but I've been keeping my cards close to my chest to this point. Locally, sole custody is instantly given to the mother if the child's parents aren't married, meaning my ex could have asked for custody and would have been likely to get it. So once she resurfaced, I got the ball rolling for sole custody, and finally, it was granted to me. With help from a friend who studied law, I've drawn up a draft of a custody agreement for my ex stating that she needs to start paying child support before any visitation is discussed, and I'm hoping to get a clause where I can void the agreement anytime, but I'm not sure if it will be included. My friend and the solicitor, lawyer she works for, are sorting it out, and they understand that my daughter's well-being is the only thing I care about. Now that I have sole custody, she's legally obligated to start paying child support, so I'll have a bit more financial security. The matter of the back pay is still up for debate, but either way, my baby girl is all mine, and that's enough for now. This brought about a tense meeting with my ex. Following my solicitor's advice, we met face to face and I told her to bring a witness so she couldn't claim that she didn't receive a copy of the custody agreement. I was expecting her to bring her sister since she and I stayed in contact so she could have a relationship with her niece, but I was wrong. I got there a few minutes earlier than we had arranged to meet so I could rehearse what I was going to say, but as I sat there waiting, something bothered me. And then, my ex walked in with a guy, a little shorter than me, and it didn't take me long to guess who it was. Luke. When I saw him, I thought something about him seemed oddly familiar, and I soon realized why. He didn't seem to recognize me though, which is probably lucky since it kept things civil. My ex and I chatted away about her therapy sessions, and I then told her that I had been to a solicitor, and she had a legal obligation to start paying child support. I also told her that I was done talking to her for the time being and that visitation was out of the question. I admitted that if she could prove that she was able to be an actual parent this time, I would be willing to talk about visitation. But not anytime soon. She accepted that, though she did shed a couple of tears. Luke then chimed in again to tell me that all my ex could talk about was my daughter, but I ignored him again and gave my ex the paperwork from the solicitor and told her she was welcome to get a solicitor to look it over first. I also said that if my daughter wants to meet her when she's older, I won't stop her, but I will tell her about how her mom abandoned her if the subject comes up. She swore that she was going to do everything she could to make amends with me, but I told her that I'm not the one needs to make amends with. The innocent child she abandoned is. Aside from that, I've been seeing a girl for about 6-7 months now, but it was really just a casual hookup sort of thing since my daughter is my main focus, which she understands. Then 4 weeks ago, we had a pregnancy scare, but it got us talking about us in the future. We both wanted to make things more serious between us, so I introduced her to my daughter last week, and they're already growing close, which I'm delighted about. Just last night, she popped in after work for a visit, and my daughter asked her for a kiss goodnight when it was her bedtime. Before that, she never asked or allowed anyone other than me to kiss her goodnight. Not even my brothers or my parents, so believe me, I was amazed. Plus, a young couple recently moved in over the road with a 3-year-old girl and 4-month-old baby, so my daughter has been making friends with them, which is awesome. She hasn't got many friends outside preschool, so it's great she has someone around her age to play with. She's living her best life, and as a dad, I couldn't be happier. Plus, we're going bowling tomorrow to celebrate me getting sole custody. She's too little to understand that, but she's excited, so to her it's a daddy-daughter date. I might do another update once my ex and I have an agreement in place, but we'll see. And I know this may sound crazy, but part of me still cares about my ex, and I really hope she finds happiness like I have with my daughter. In the meantime, thanks again for the comments and support. I cannot overstate how much it means to me. Story 4. Asking my wife for a paternity test because she cheated years back. Me and my wife have been married for 8 years now. 3 years ago, she cheated with a friend of hers, and after some time, we managed to reconcile. She found out she was pregnant a few days ago, and while my initial reaction was happiness, then the thought that it could be someone else's crawled into my mind. The thought she's done it before popped into my head. When I asked her to take a test and explain my reasoning, we had a huge fight. She said that I shouldn't hold that against her after all the work we've done to repair the relationship. I still feel strongly about having a paternity test. Update. Hello everyone, my last post got a lot of attention, so I figured I should update you all. Some things to clear up. After my wife cheated, we have been in counseling, and it's been a hard road for both of us, but we managed to build something new, so to speak. Also, we weren't actively trying for a baby. We didn't do things such as tracking her ovulation, but we mostly had sex regularly without protection. It's been like this for the past 6 months. And no, we don't have any STDs. We both wanted kids, but since she cheated on me, that wasn't something we thought we should do for a while, at least not before we reconciled. Also, I tried to be as tactful when I brought up the paternity test, but I think tactfulness can only go so far when essentially accusing your wife of potentially cheating on you. It went like this: honey, we need to talk about the baby. What's wrong? Look, I need some reassurance. I love you, but I just can't shake this thought off my head. What thought? I'm worried that it's not mine. After that, things got louder and we had a fight. The update. After our fight, I slept in the other room and we didn't really talk for a while. We waved goodbye when we went to work and had small talk about our days, but didn't really address what we fought about. She eventually came to me and apologized for her reaction. She says she understands why I asked her for a paternity test. And she got mad because she thought the whole cheating thing was over and we wouldn't need to ever bring it up again. She said she was mad because this made her realize that this is something that will always be a part of our relationship as history. And it reminded her of how much of an effect this had on me and how much she hurt me. She told she was mad at herself. She says she hates the fact she gave me a good reason to ask for it. We simply hugged it out after that. She agreed to take a paternity test, but from some research we made, it seems to be a bit early for one, but we'll schedule a doctor visit and see what we can do. I'll be honest, I think the paternity test is just a formality now, but I still want it for my own peace of mind. I do love my wife and want us to start building our family. I do thank you all for your responses.